Hey folks, welcome to the reassembly of the Abu Cardinal Max 105 vintage reel. So firstly we'll go for the bail arm parts. I'm starting here with a washer, little plastic washer, goes over the end there. And it needs to sit fairly square. Alright, so what we have here is a mini bearing. And the mini bearing goes into the centre of the big brass barrel there. And you can actually probably put it on first actually. And that goes on top of there like that, and my bearing's inside it. And I'm just going to give that a bit of grease, oily stuff. Right, so once you've got that on, there's another washer, and the shaped side of this goes towards the barrel, like that. Okay, and then that goes onto here, and you put the screw through it. So if you do that, and then make a note of all the parts that you're supposed to have on that, okay? Okay, so just check that the runner or the barrel actually spins freely, which it does. Okay, you want that side of the drum. And then insert the bail arm in, and just bring it around like that. Okay, you can kind of see that. The next piece has three parts. It has four parts, sorry. It has a plastic piston, a plastic recess, and a spring, and the piece that goes on the end, a bit like a steam engine. Okay, so before you insert those, you need to put the actuator in. Like so. I don't think that'll go in afterwards, so you might want to get it in first. I haven't checked that, but I don't think it will. Okay, so that is quite tricky to do. So you need to put the screw on there now before it pings off. Okay, so your bail arm should snap like so. Yes, it does. That's what it should look like, folks. Okay, finally screw the sand cover down. On the other side, you can take the bail arm and insert the piece onto it, and you turn it over. It locks on, and you can just push it through like so. Put the screw in, and then put the sand cover on. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's done, and it should snap forwards and back. Should sit over when you cock the bail, and it should snap back. Okay, reassembly of the drag mechanism. You have the ticker cog here, and before it there's a fibre washer, a drag washer. There's one after it. There's a friction plate, another drag washer, slotted shaft friction plate, another drag washer, another drag washer at the end there. Okay, so you put one friction washer on one end, and then it helps if you get a pair of tweezers and insert the thing, so you can kind of see that it's been inserted, look, and then put the other washers on top, and that avoids any awkwardness. These little slots on these ones go into the slots on the real body. That actually went upside down. Well, ended up with that time. The one with the flatted shaft on it goes in the centre. Okay, when all that's in, you've then got a spring. There's then a brass washer goes on top of that, and then this assembly goes on top of the whole thing. Now if you look at the diagram, Abu's diagram for this reel, I think they got it slightly wrong, just from experience. This clip then goes around, and that just stops it coming out. There's one more washer, goes on the end there. Okay, so put the screw in, and then that's your drag mech set properly up. Okay, I don't generally oil the drag mech. I think you're supposed to oil it, but I could be wrong there. But if you look at the Abu manual, it's not one of the places where it says oil should be. So there you go. So the real body. So I'll put that in first, and I would oil that. Before I put the switch back, remember to test the bearings in your fingers. If they feel silky smooth, then they're okay. But if you've got any kind of grittiness or grindliness, then they need replacing. For the switch assembly, these are the parts that you need. You need the actuator, you need the spring, you need the cover plate, you need the screw, you need the switch itself and the switch retaining plate. Okay, so putting the actuator for the anti-reverse in. This is a bit tricky, so you got to make sure you get it right way around. So that goes in like that, which can be tricky. And if you look at the bit with the chamfer on it, you can just see it there. That goes upwards with essentially with the teardrop part pointing downwards for the switch. Okay. And that is actually pretty tricky, and it's one of the trickiest bits of the reel to get right. And the next bit is also tricky. Okay, so I'm keeping my finger on this. I'm hoping it doesn't come off. Well, the spring basically needs to fit into that little recess there. You can just see it. And it is a very tricky one. And remember, springs have wings. So keep a hold of it until the cover plate goes on. Okay, that's the cover plate on. We now need to screw that down. Now that is one of the trickiest parts of this whole reel assembly, so be careful doing that. Okay, so that's it on. So lastly, you have to put the clip over this, because that is part of the mechanism, and it won't work properly without it. So that is now fully working. It needs a bit of oil, but and that is the trickiest part of the reels. Alright, so the next is to put the head bearing on. So this is what you need for the head bearing. You need quite a thick washer, the bearing itself, a washer that's got like a groove put onto it, and a plastic washer which goes over it, a cover plate, 3 screws, and this here is the clutch which goes over the top. Now then, there are problems with the clutch, and if you've got problems with the clutch, especially with it slipping, in other words, your anti-reverse wouldn't work properly, then we do have a video on how to fix that, so you can watch that sometime. So it's worth sticking a bit of oil on that before you put it on, and the other side will be greased eventually. Goes on like that. It's just pretty easy. And that goes on like that, and there are some little locating lugs to locate that properly. You then put the screws in, which I'm probably not going to show you because it's boring, and then we're kind of ready. Now, don't worry about this because the spool pin lines this up. Okay. Okay, so the clutch just goes over like that, and the clutch does have a flat shaft on the inner sleeve which has to match up with this brass one. So if you engage the anti-reverse, so when I say engage, like that, right, and you see it click home, this brass shaft should turn in one direction but not the other, and that's your anti-reverse clutch working. Okay. Okay, so next we put in the cam cog and the cam rider. And I'm going to grease that, and I'm going to grease that next. Okay, so this cog here then goes straight into the handle bearing. So what we then do is we put the spool pin in, but the drum has to go on loose first. The anti-reverse catch is probably the trickiest part of this reel, but you have to learn a technique here of having a loose drum to get the thing released. Okay, once the spool pin is in, you must have that clip in place in order to put the cover on. Okay, in the handle, you just snap the bearing in, and you've got a pair of washers to go over there. It's a very tight fit, and that is a good thing because it keeps the sand out of your reel. Okay, once the screws are in, and then it remains to tighten up the nut. put the handle back and we're done. Okay, so that's our reel, nice and silky and smooth, and we put the bail arm over and it snaps back just nicely. Now that's a beautiful Abu 105, which we bought on eBay for £12. Fantastic ball bearing reel, probably would have cost you £100 if you'd had to buy it new. And I should just say again, folks, try and recycle stuff. Don't buy anything new, try and learn how to repair things. It is absolutely superb, and there is nothing wrong with that. We'll fish for another 100 years. Okay, that's the end of this little reassembly video for the Abu 105 Cardinal. Thanks very much for watching, folks.